And in the end... Oh,
and in the end, well, happy birthday, Sir Paul, or the dude who replaced him when he died.
Oh, yeah. That guy looks just like him.
And is he 81? See, we don't know. We'll say he's 81 if it's somebody else.
Whoa. I think my phone is going off.
And we're rolling already here on the Carnival. Happy Father's Day.
Oh, sorry. Nope. Sorry. Technology is overcoming me. Ah, it's coming down on me.
See, that's why we're random when we don't cut this stuff out so you can see what idiots we are. But one of the things you're going to do, I was going to call
Don't speak for me.
Next week we're going to start having guests again, and you're probably, stop applauding. I don't want to hear you applaud, like, thank goodness. But we're going to do, it's our third part of what we call our trip tonight thing. We had the Donner Cut last week.
Yeah.
Which wasn't the same show as the one before, and I think we talked about Superman for 5 minutes. But I was going to call this one Crisis on Multiple Carnivals. But you have the goatee, or you the evil version, Greg. But instead, because of the passing of John Romita, this is the Merry Carnival Marching Society show.
That's right.
So that's obviously getting off to a good start here.
Gather around, kids.
Gather around.
It's Rob's soapbox is coming up.
My soapbox, Greg's soapbox. What would be your nickname? Would be Rascally Rob? No, that's Rascally Roy. Rockin' Rob. I guess gregarious Greg.
Yep.
So we were doing that though. If you didn't know, John Romita passed away, a comic book.
Oh, he did? I'm sorry, I didn't know that.
That's why we're talking about it.
Well, I thought you liked his art. I don't know.
You wondered why.
We don't do much show prep, folks.
You know what? He was 93, so I mean, it's always...
Oh, really? Wow.
It's sad when somebody passes, but you got to say,
Always up on who's dying, Rob Schwartz.
Well, I have a lot of Facebook... I know a lot of people in the industry, and that's where I saw it from. But he passed away, and he was a member of the Marvel Bullpen, the original Bullpen.
Right.
And now Greg got me on this one because we got to do the nicknames. It was Smiling Stan Lee, right?
Yep.
Jack King Kirby.
Yep.
Okay, what was Ditko?
Daring or dashing or something like that.
That one I don't know.
Yeah.
But what was Romita? Was it Jolly or Jocular or
Jolly?
Jumpin' John.
It was. I think it was Jazzy John Romita or Romita.
And the thing is, this is not like supposed to be like some kind of a PBS show. You can look it up, and we might be all wrong. But
it's funny because when I first
Rascally Roy Thomas,
Rascally Roy, right? And Jack King Kirby, right? Now a lot of these are coming back to me now. But, when I first started reading comics, and I read both Marvel and DC. So, I remember particularly there was a DC in their editorial thing in the letters page or something that, we read your mail. But they put a little thing in there saying that how much more highbrow they were without naming Marvel. They said, we don't refer to our books as mags or issues, and we don't use that slang and type stuff. And it was very interesting because that was one of the cool things about Marvel. It was just so different. And Stan Lee just let it fly, man. He just said, you know what? He gets an idea. He just tried it. I mean, I've watched many documentaries on him. I've got a couple of them. He was broke for the longest time.
I have the new book, the latest book on him. The thing is, some ways I'm holding it back because I don't want to read, because I know at the end it gets very depressing and all the horrible stuff that happened with him.
It's too bad he started making his fortune so late, from I'm assuming from the movies.
In a way, it's like he saw the promised land in a way, because he lived so long. He got to see, you think. Go back, how many creations
are worldwide sensations?
You go by, though, he goes, some of these pulp heroes, they've been around, nearly 80 years. All these characters you see making billions of dollars, they've been around 60 years.
Right.
Most of them. Well, Captain America, a couple more decades.
Right.
And I still don't know, why the heck doesn't Rochester do more with Joe Simon?
Is he from here?
He's from here.
Oh. I don't know.
And I know, because obviously, what's the town? There's a town in Ohio. It's like they have the home of Superman because because of the creators.
I'm only here to learn stuff, folks.
The thing is, again, it might be like Gorilla Monsoon or somebody where maybe he lived here for a while, but he is from here.
Huh. Well, I remember watching a thing about him. There was a good documentary on Tubi, on the Roku there, and they talked about comic books and this and that, obviously, but they had a thing on Joe Simon, quite a lengthy segment on Joe Simon and Captain America and how he created it with Kirby and all that.
Actually, the book to go to, and I know Frank, what is going on with this phone today?
Oh, it must be some stupid notification thing that I didn't realize I have.
Ladies and gentlemen, take a break for a second. We'll see what he's doing here.
Technology is kicking my butt.
Well,
I don't know. Don't worry.
Frank Miller said nobody's, there's a lot of, different voices in the comic community. Frank Miller said nobody's really written a definitive history. But there's a lot of history out there. But there's a thing called by Robin Rowe, Tales to Astonish, which is about more Stan Lee, and it really gives a good history of Marvel. I really, really miss that genre of comic. I know they're kind of back now with the graphic novels and Dark Star and all that, but Tales of Mystery and all those macabre freaking things, man, were scary and they were cool. Oh, House of Mystery, yeah. I'd like to find some of those. I've got the essentials. You just get the big things. Oh, yeah. You don't mind black and white. No. Are those old horror comics? You can find them. They're out there. Whatever that. EC comics. Yeah. Or just the old Marvel, what were the Atlas comics? Right. Timely. Was it because Atlas was in the 70s? I actually read a couple Western comics that were really good. I forget the names of them now, but they were actually quite good stories. It's in one of the monster comics from the 60s, and it was in a collection I got from the library. It's about an elderly couple who lived by the beach, and it's in a mermaid. And it's literally looking just by Ditko and Stan Lee, the elderly couple look just like Aunt May and Uncle Ben. Oh, wow. So they must just taken those characters and used them again. Well, it's funny. I was looking, speaking of weird storylines, I was doing a Google thing the other day, and I read some articles, and I saw this one about Marvel and the weirdest comics they ever did, or the dumbest ones, or something like that. They did a Coneheads one, and they did all these weird... Welcome Back, Cotter. Yeah. I mean, they just did some weird stuff. Well, remember the big one, though, the Kiss comic. Mm-hmm. And they've done more. I think they might have done a sequel, but I know the Kiss... I usually don't get into those because I know they're just a, fad cash grab thing. Yeah, I never got it. They do kind of become collectibles, I guess. Yeah, that's one I wish I would have gotten at the time. Because... But, a lot of those. But I'm trying to think, what my first comic book ever was. And I know one of my first that I really loved was Captain Marvel with Jim Starlin, not Shazam, the Captain Marvel. Don't remember with the Cosmic Cube and Rick Jones. That was the one that was one of my first, but I still think my first comic might have been a Silver Surfer comic that I ever read. Oh, wow. Because I know my mom loves Silver Surfer. That's only because he's naked. You know what? You think about that. He is naked. That naked dude in silver. He should be down at Roar, doing one of the shows down there on a surfboard. Wow, that'd be a great gimmick. We want to get credit for that one. Yeah, definitely. But it also went back to where there was the Silver Age for. They have the Bronze Age, the Silver Age. I'm not even going to try on that one, the Golden Age. But at the time, superheroes were not in. And that was the big thing about Spider-Man. The irony was the Amazing Fantasy was stopping. There was a throwaway story. Yeah. It's why not just toss this in? It's not going anywhere anyways. Right. 5 pages or something. Yeah. Then Fantastic Four, the way it was set up, it was more, and I still think it's a lot. I think they took a lot from Challengers of the Unknown myself. But what happened was they had uniforms, I think, after the 4th or 5th issue because fans wrote in. Oh. But they wanted to make it more as a science fiction comic because superheroes weren't popular. Oh, wow. Well, it's funny because I remember DC did that too. They had these Tales of Krypton or Superman when he was a boy type little stories. At the end of the
main story, it'd be like 6 pages or something of fluff.
Oh, yeah, like some of those you get like the neat little story at the end. There'd be like 6 pages or something else. But also the thing, did you ever have any letters printed in Marvel?
No.
You know what they do? I had a couple. They send you a big storyboard of the letter page.
Oh, wow. How cool is that?
Which is awesome.
You still have it?
Yeah, they actually, plus, DC, I guess I wrote good letters because what they did was they sent me in advance of Ragman #1 because they said we need people who write good letters to review this.
Wow. Good for you, Matt. I did not know that. That's awesome.
That's why, I mean, I used to love, maybe the first thing I would do even, I would turn to the letters page because like you were saying, I would love to like see like the back and forth, like they would answer the letters and stand soapbox.
Now, this is a good spot for a public service announcement. So you see, kids, from the humblest beginnings, you can achieve greatness. Look what Rob did.
Yes.
All right.
Hey, for me, when I was that age, I get a copy from DC Comics of a comic book
that's way
come
cool.
out before. You know, then I would be really good friends with the comic book artist, and I'd get her books before. But I'm like, before you were doing this, I got copies.
I think that's cool, man. I mean, especially the reviewing a thing, because, you know, they know you're smart. So that's like, or, you know, whatever you want to call it. Detail.
Well, they had to edit my letters because they were too long, as you would expect.
Continued next issue.
Thanks, Stan Lee called me and made fun of me, though, one time. Which is like, and I don't, you know, I wonder if he really did it or like he had people answer it. Because, no, but the irony, I would love to have told them off in a funny way for it. So there was this thing about Ask Stan Lee, right?
Yeah.
So I asked him about, when are you going to put out your autobiography? And he called, first he goes, and then we have Rob Schwartz being really evil. And he goes, I would put what do I have to write about myself?
Right.
And then he puts one out.
Yeah.
So he made fun of me. Or somebody did.
Did he dedicate it to you? He should have.
So I wonder if he was answering those or not.
Maybe. Well, who knows?
So I always heard that those comic strips in the paper were ghosted.
Oh, well, could be.
You never know. That's the thing.
I know there was a Batman strip in the DNC back in the 60s because I was in school and I remember seeing them.
Oh,
they ran it for a while. And I think that was Carmen Infantino.
That's the one that's like one of my holy grails, but you know how much it costs. The cartoon, the strip from the newspaper. It's like a book like this.
Well, I bought 2 Superman dailies and they're long. They're long books because, you know, the strips. Yeah. But yeah, they're not that bad. $25. I got 2 of the Superman dailies, and I think I got this other hardcover one, Batman the War Years, which is all 40 stories, which is pretty cool.
This is like almost like too big. I don't know how you'd even read it. But
yeah, it doesn't sound like what I
got one out of the library. I got volume 1. That was so cumbersome.
Wow.
But it's cool. It's still awesome.
Those seem to be hard to take care of. I mean, as far as lending them out to different people, they can get wrecked up easy.
Then you lend them out and their kid thinks it's a coloring book. That might be...
Well, you know, too, you were saying something about bemoaning some of the titles going away and things. And the thing is, you got a couple different, maybe 3 phases of the comic book industry. You got the beginning with the pulp era, where comic books kind of came from, where they used to, you know, pulp referring to the cheap paper that they got printed on, because it was the Depression and all that, detective stories and whatnot. And then, you know, Superman came along, and that kind of started the whole thing. And then you had the war thing, so you had Captain America, and you had your Shazam, or Captain Marvel, and Super Duper, all those characters from the Justice Society, you know, the Spectre and all that stuff. So then you've got the 50s come along, which is what, the Silver Age? Is that?
Yeah, it's Silver. That I know.
So that got a little weirder, sillier. And then that dude put the hammer down, the psychologist there.
Wortham.
Yeah, he put the hammer down on the material for the kids. And then you got the schlocky late 50s, early 60s goofy stuff. You know, Rainbow Batman and Batman in Space, and you know, and you know, Batman in the Amazon.
Batman everywhere in the suit of armor.
Yeah. But you know, and then, so that's why I always say the George Reeves TV show, they kept that show fairly grounded because where could they go with it? They didn't have the effects to do crazy space stories, and they kept the shows fairly real, and they kept them to that style of that era, which was gangsters and mad scientists. You know, that was the whole deal.
Yeah, that's the thing. You do what you can work with and everything. You have a format, and you do with it.
And you know what? I always think about this. Everybody goes, "Oh, it was a kid show at the end and all that." Okay, perhaps they dumbed down some of the storylines, but some were still really, really good. But you got to remember, these were freaking all middle-aged guys putting this show together, and you know, with the baggy trousers and the the whole '50s look there, and because I've seen some pictures, and you know, this was their fantasy land, man. They were playing kid. I mean, I don't care what you say. They were making films, and those are fairly high quality. If you look at the other shows of that era about space travel or whatever, it's all the phony sets and the bull.
You can see the string on the model.
Terrible. But when you look at the production values of that Adventures of Superman, I mean, rooms look like rooms. You know, a shed was a shed. You know, I mean, the stuff they had good carpentry. They had good set builders and decorators.
Oh, yeah, and I love this.
They were Hollywood guys. They were movie guys.
But see, that's like when you got in the 70s, I like the way they stuck. That's when you had the O'Neill and Adams Batman, which got very serious and brought it back.
I really like
the thing I like about that era, and the big problem, and this is some criticism people have at Batman now, I think it's found, is the guy is just so miserable and depressed.
Right.
I mean, he's supposed to be, he's the guy whose parents got killed, and he's devoted his life to fighting crime. But he's not, like, super miserable.
It's like a cathartic, it's his therapy.
Yeah.
And I read an interesting thing just yesterday. Another Google deal. I get sucked into these things, but with that Flash movie, which we're going to have to touch on, because you said it was good.
Now, and what I've heard, I have to...
Oh.
Well, we'll say, what I know enough about it, we'll talk about it
I'm going to try and go. But I guess there's
Are you going to go in a flash, or just going to go...
I'm going to go in quick as a wink. There was a thing in there where Michael Keaton was trying to explain how time distorts things in the movie. I guess he uses Spaghetti, yeah. But anyway, this article said that when he did the original couple movies, he said the way he thought about it. Well, first of all, why he didn't do the third one was him and Schumacher. The way Schumacher wanted the character to go.
I also heard he had multiplicity. But I also heard he was pissed at the second one because he wasn't in it. So I guess they timed his screen time.
Yeah, he wasn't in it very much. Well, the fight with him and Catwoman on the roof is monumental.
I liked it, but it's just that, I guess he said, like, by the time, like, if you count the screen time, he was like a co-star.
Yeah. The only thing I didn't like was that third act where the Penguin does this big spiel there,
and the thing was, and obviously Burton wasn't a comic book guy. We'll just grain of salt with the Penguin.
No, everything comes out Nightmare Before Christmas style. That whole style of twisted fairy tales.
I cannot fathom if he would have done that Superman movie. What the heck?
Oh, I know. So anyway, back to this thing. So, Keaton said when he got the part, so he didn't do the third one because him and Schumacher wanted it to get light and he wanted to keep it where it was. So he said that to him, interpreting that character, it was all Bruce Wayne. It was about Bruce Wayne and why Bruce Wayne would do these things. And he approached it from that, like Batman was just sort of the manifestation of what Bruce Wayne's guilt and anger and whatnot. And so that's a really good way to look at it. And as a good actor, you need to dig into a part like that.
That's always, because we should have like some root beer float gummies from a CBD before we do this. Are we like the Carnival from Earth 53? But
I'm an atomic physicist.
How many times did they ask the question? Is Bruce Wayne, is Batman your secret identity, or is Bruce Wayne your secret identity?
Batman is what they're saying.
Some people will take it the other way and say that it's... Because there's actually one story in a Robin comic Bill Willingham wrote, which I thought his run of Robin was fantastic. But he's got this thing where Bruce Wayne says, if they ever found out he was Batman, he's got a dozen different identities he could slip into.
Right.
That's my friend Mike, who's been on the show.
Very true, yeah.
He said one time why he loved Batman. The dude is prepared for everything.
Well, they said that Superman and Batman are directly the opposite. That Clark Kent is really who he is, and Superman's kind of the affectation or whatever.
And they've also done the thing, if you want to get really deep into it, that if you go, Batman is old America, he's like the old moneyed guy,
right.
Gilded Age. And Superman, the idea of the immigrant coming here, he can do anything.
True.
Except maybe keep the rights because you think the Spectre's going to be a bigger hit.
My cousin sent me this pretty funny meme. I got to share it with you. I don't know if you saw it. It's Batman versus Karl Marx, and they're like facing off. It's like a drawn thing. It's hilarious. I'll send it to you. And it's like, and it's got blurbs on it. It says, for Batman, it says, wealthy, capitalist, and then the mark. Oh, it's funny.
Oh, they got what was the one, Red Sun, where Superman landed in the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
Those Elseworld comics. But that was you think these characters have something that everybody, I think everybody wants to do their spin on them. That's why they're so good. Like, there was the idea behind Michael Keaton where if you were going to be Batman, you wouldn't be like an Arnold Schwarzenegger type guy.
Right, a rich guy.
You would have to look like a guy who had to be a bat and do all this stuff.
Right.
Though obviously they don't put in that one how much training he went through too, but he's trying to do this identity.
Well, I like that they touched on that in Batman Begins. He did a great job of explaining.
I think that's one of my top 10 favorite movies.
Because he had the money to go to China and all that, or Tibet and all, wherever he went. And
I think it's Nepal.
Yeah, Nepal.
I can't believe I'm saying this.
Well, you know what always...
Take a blue flower and come up to these...
You know what irony I always thought there was? In the third one, in Dark Knight Rises, when he finally gets out of the prison, and he gets to the top, and the city is right there.
They should have dumped them all.
I mean... Do you realize the irony where you just think you're in hell?
How does the guy, was he hitchhike all the way back then?
Right.
But, that's another thing.
No, Alfred came and got him. They had a scene where
That's the other thing where, think about it, where they actually did some realism. If you were going out every night fighting bad guys, you're going to be, arthritis, you're going to have broken bones.
Well,
they would have him take off the thing, he would have, all the bruises and stuff.
Well, they touched on that. He had scars.
And the other part, too,
from the dogs and
stuff. In the comic books, I think these guys aren't even 30 yet.
Right.
A lot of them, they've been around, I wish we could do that, be around,
No, I know.
But one of the other things I was thinking of is the good old, it was always good, the clever writing they would do. In the Marvel way was always, you would draw the story first, then they would dialogue it.
Oh, yeah?
Stan always did, the cheap plot thing, the outs, where Spider-Man's webs would run out.
Yeah.
But the big one, always with Tony Stark, would be the heart attack. This thing would run out. Or Thor with the hammer. They don't do it that anymore now, but if he lost touch with the hammer for a minute, he'd revert to Don Blake.
Yeah, and I wanted to mention on that. I mean, why do you think that was totally ignored in those movies?
Because I think they got out of it they got rid of the Blake identity for the most part over the decades.
I wonder how they did that. I would like to.
All I know, I was out of comics a little bit in high school, and I know he was some other guy for a while, and maybe it got a little trite, but the best one was Iron Man. He's fighting the Freak, when Happy Hogan would turn into the Freak.
Oh, yeah. His
thing runs out, he's dropping over, he takes it, he jumps a car engine and jumps.
Yeah.
But I think, but there's it's like a soap opera. It's an easy plot twist.
Yeah. Remember the thought balloons, the thought bubbles? That Tony Stark thing reminded me. He's probably having big thought at that moment going, if I can just charge this thing up in the battery, it'll revive me.
But there's the one I always told Caitlin I would love, if I did a book, she could illustrate it. I don't know if I'd be able, that would be weird to do, because that's how they would do, but I guess you got it done the Marvel way, where they would have the story drawn out, then you had to do the dialogue. So what did you have to do, read out, because otherwise, I've seen, Chris Claremont, some of these scripts, where they're really dense, and they're telling the artist what to draw and everything now.
Well, it would seem to me that if you do it that way, I mean, the picture is going to dictate the story. So you got to look at the picture
Then
and go,
Stan said his wife thought he was insane because he would always, like, do the words, like, for Doctor Strange in a mirror, like, the hoary host of Hagas. They all sing, I have Agamotto.
Take a pill, dear.
What I've always said about Stan Lee, was he a great writer? No. He was a great writer for his format.
Yeah.
He was perfect for that format.
I mean, he took everything kind of from the what if there was that was his jumping off point. What if there was a teenager that had to deal with being a superhero? What if it was that, an industrialist had...
Well, that's like you were saying about the seriousness of DC. They were all perfect.
Right.
Whereas, like, you had, like, Peter Parker was like something really, really different because you never had a 15-year-old. It was always a sidekick.
Right.
When he had to make money, he had that was the other thing. Aunt May was dropping dead every 5 issues.
Right.
That was always that thing, too.
Your Uncle Ben was a great man.
But it's like it's trying to teach him more. And you wonder, too, like I always wondered, like you said about the Superman series, where because of, like, the sponsors, you had to do, like, those old Shazam series in the 70s.
Oh, yeah.
They had to have, every story was the moral lesson.
Right. I've watched a couple of those. They're pretty funny.
I actually got it. I found it.
They're on one of the streaming things.
Yeah, but think about, could you imagine a show like that now? There's this young kid going around with this old guy called Mentor.
Right.
I don't know if that one would fly.
Was he actually Billy Batson, the kid?
Yeah.
Is that how they did it?
Yeah. They never do an origin. He's got that little, what they do is they run into the problem. He talks to the guys. They talk about, you will learn this lesson.
Well, 70s TV was weird anyway, like that Superheroes Roast or whatever that.
Oh,
oh my God, that thing was weird.
Oh, that was so king with Mordu water skiing.
Yeah.
But the other one too is, like, they had the big lawsuit because Shazam was even outselling Superman.
Wow.
For a while, until they sued him. But they don't think they were selling like 5 million copies of comic books in those days.
Wow.
And Matt Gravoy, I guess, like he was Elvis's favorite comic book artist. He did all the old Shazams.
Captain Marvel was cool, but I mean, I can see where they would say he's a ripoff, but his origin has nothing to do with it.
What they're all ripoffs, like Stan said, they're all just a Greek myth.
Yeah, I mean, how come nobody's sued Aquaman and the Submariner? I mean, they're
Green
essentially
Lantern,
the same
Nova,
character.
Quicksilver's the Flash.
Yeah.
Like if we were going to do a comic book company, go, okay, who's our fast guy?
Yeah, that seems odd that they would do that.
Competition. Nasty.
Well, I heard DC was pretty kind of like Disney. I mean, back in the day when they had their legal team was like,
I've read a lot more of Marvel than DC, like how the politics and stuff. The other one I have the big, remember those big books?
Yeah.
Like, I have the Spider-Man versus Superman.
Oh, yeah.
And that was, to me, that was like so, I think I read that story 100 times.
Was it good?
Oh,
I never watched it or saw it.
The one, I didn't really like the Hulk and Batman as much. It's like, but the Spider-Man and Superman, you know what they got to do, of course? They got to, of course, mix up and be enemies at first.
Yeah.
And what happens is Luthor shoots Spider-Man with, like, a red sun gun. So, he goes to punch Superman, Superman goes flying.
Wow.
But then it wears off, he goes to punch Superman, he hurts his hand.
That's an interesting... Yeah, I never would have thought of that.
Think about
projecting
that.
onto a human, yeah.
Because Superman could beat the hell out of him, obviously, otherwise.
That's a good twist.
But did you have a favorite from, like, the originals?
Original.
Like, for Marvel, like, the originals, like, sort of characters?
Oh, Iron Man, probably.
See, I've liked Iron Man a lot. I was probably my mom.
And Thor. Iron Man and Thor were big for me.
Wasn't always wondering, why the heck is, like, a Norse guy speaking Shakespearean English? Which is kind of funny. But like when DC's done Thor, they've done it more accurately. But Thor is always awesome.
Yeah, I love that character and see, that's the thing. Like I said, Stan Lee's ideas were all like, he took very generalized things. He took the gods. He took the space thing with scientists for Fantastic Four. Oh, what if a bunch of these guys go through radiation? What would happen? And then there you go.
Lucky you didn't get some kids going down with their dads trying to sneak into facilities and get exposed to gamma rays.
Right.
Kids don't do this at home.
I actually have 2 of those TV Hulk things. I have the Trial of the Hulk and some other one.
The one with Thor is like There's one with Thor in it that's hilarious.
I never saw that one.
Oh, it's one of the last movies, like the trial. It's like one of those.
Well, maybe I have it then.
Yeah,
I got two of them. And
he goes out drinking with them.
Oh man, I gotta.
He's like
check
Thor's
that out.
more like the party guy, like the party god. But we've been saying it. What about the Flash? Thoughts? You haven't seen both. I haven't seen it.
Well, it
yet.
looks like it's going to be confusing. So I would not advise any gummy use before the screening, folks. But I don't know. I think it's going to be really good because I think they're going to have a lot of twists and turns, and it's they got that excuse to throw in all the other actors, which is
I heard there's
cool.
lots of cameos. I guess also it said don't leave at the credits.
Oh, okay.
If something big happens.
Yeah.
The only thing, take the legal
We'll
stuff.
probably see it soon.
Take the legal stuff with Ezra Miller, throw it. That's up to you if you want to see it or not. And I'm not too sure what the heck he did or whatever else.
He acted up in Hawaii.
My view on it though is don't you think in a way though? He's more Wally West than Barry Allen.
Yeah.
Because Barry Allen's a straight cop, and he's actually more Peter Parker-ish, like the character. It's like sort of, and he's a sidekick, where I thought he was the best thing in the Justice League movie.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if you watch those other Justice League things, the Zack Snyder version, his part.
I really
bigger.
like. That's one of those movies. I think it's really good. Maybe you don't know if you want to watch it all the way through. Take a break, but I'll watch it all the way through.
His movies are slow. I mean, they just are. And I watched Sucker Punch. I had that, and I was like, what the hell? It's kind of weird, but it's kind of cool too. I mean, his movies are deep, and
they're
has
long.
a certain.
They're like Nolan. They're like long.
Yeah, and they have a lot of slow, ponderous scenes, which are usually the things that get cut out, but they're important to the story. I mean, if you were reading a book, you can't just skip a bunch of paragraphs and go, because it wouldn't make sense.
Oh, I had to do it too. I was just thinking of all our different Earths. On one Earth, you're Billie Eilish's drummer. You know you are, and I'm with Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift.
As long as the check's clear,
That's how sometimes you got to do that. It's like if the check's clear, I love your music.
That's right. Works for me.
Show me the money. Show me the money. That's why I always say principles can come when you have the money for them.
Well, as a musician though, I can say I could play somebody's music and never listen to it. I mean, I would say, okay, this is how I should play for this style. You want this or this or this? Okay, and they like it. And then that's it. I would not.
Even honestly, think about all the session musicians,
performing
a service. Think they enjoyed everything they did in terms of style? No, it was a paycheck.
No, right.
So you're out there touring right now with your little goth girl or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it's real music. It's real music.
Where's Billy? Oh, she's overcutting herself again. Oh, okay.
Actually, Alyssa Trahan was just in town, and she was saying, I guess that Taylor Swift show at Nissan Stadium, the traffic was brutal. It was the biggest gate ever.
Yeah, wow.
See, that's weird, our lives.
She amazes me. I mean, she's very talented, but she's another one. Why?
That's one of our running jokes about, because we share birthdays.
Yeah.
But I just don't get and again, it's one of my questions always is how somebody just gets a grip with so many people.
Right.
And I'll listen to the music and go, she's professional, but why is this so much different than all this other stuff?
Well, she started young, and her parents she's got good parents. I mean, they got money, I think.
Yeah, they did. She's whatever the term, River Lynch used the term for me, where they have an in on the industry. Yeah, I mean... Not that she isn't working hard.
Right, I mean, it's kind of they're oh, more songs? Beautiful, honey. Let's, here, my daughter writes songs. Can you, I mean, I'm sure the parents were kind of pushy, the people that paid to get their kids into college.
Yeah, but I'm that's why I like all the friends I have. I love that I can toss out some obscure thing. More likely than not, they're going to know it.
Right.
Which I think is really cool. But we can talk. But that's a thing for Flash. So, and the only thing that gets me on those messing, it's it wants to be into the Spider-Verse or something, maybe a little bit they're copying.
Yeah, probably.
But you could always go back. That's what got me about the Terminator movie.
Which I heard was really good.
The first one was awesome. Yeah. I know the first one. But with Terminator movies, what's the point? Because they can it goes in a loop because they can just keep sending something back to do it again.
Well, one of my favorite movies is Looper. That movie is great.
I've seen it.
Yeah.
I love Paul Dano, too.
It's just such a twisted story. I mean, being sent back to kill yourself. I mean, that is a mind.
I think Will
effort.
Smith did that in a recent movie too. Like he's supposed to kill himself or whatever.
Yeah.
Like he's like got a hit on himself.
His version of I, Robot was good. I really liked it.
I liked it too. Actually, I finally read the story after years and years too.
You know, it's funny. I've been watching these Alfred Hitchcock Presents and Twilight Zone and Thriller. There's a British version of the show Thriller that's done by the guy from the Avengers that did the British show The Avengers, and I forget his name. I always forget his name, but he's like the producer or something. You know.
I only know McNeary.
But it's really good. They're good stories, and they're the typical British mysteries. Some weird stuff, good acting. You know, very live looking.
Plus,
stuff.
they've got like a weird sense of horror to some of their horror things.
Anyway, what was I getting at?
See,
I go off on tangents.
So that's the show. That's like the ad libs. Like we don't have guess.
No, that's just failing memory and old age.
Oh no!
Oh, I forgot to take my focus drug. Ah, crap.
Oh no! Oh, we have to get on the Sir Paul's 81st birthday, and it's just amazing.
Wow, that is. And Ringo's a little older, right?
He's 83 this year.
Wow.
But what is going on now? And I didn't see the whole story. They're going to do a Last Beatles song. And they're using like AI with
hologram
John.
Things or something with John Lennon, yeah.
I don't know. Pretty soon they're going to have like, because I guess Jimmy Page turned them down. They want to do what they're doing with ABBA with Led Zeppelin, where they want to do like a hologram Led Zeppelin show.
With ABBA?
That's what they're doing now. They're back together, but what they said was, you don't want to see us like we are now. So they're there. They've got like this huge run in London. It's going through the whole year where they have holograms doing their songs. And then the real members come out at the end.
Wow. Well, what's the ABBA? I don't get that. What?
No, ABBA, that's the band.
They're doing it with ABBA?
No, but they're doing it, but I guess like some producer wants Led Zeppelin to do it.
Oh, okay.
So, but can you imagine? What are you going to go see?
I wanted to see them together. Damn.
What are you going to see then? Oh, we're going to go see the Beatles are playing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, you're catering to fantasy. I mean, people are living more and more in their heads. I mean, you know, Alexa, turn on my TV.
No, it's getting to the point it's scary to me where, like, for a while, I've learned, like, there's a word we have to use again. It's called focus. I don't think we could probably blab for 4 hours on here. We try to keep it 45 minutes to an hour because that's as much as you could probably pay attention.
What?
Yes. But really, it's like, people, how often can you go, like, try reading a book for, like, just 3 straight hours? Oh, I got to check my phone. I got to do this. I got to check what's online.
I mean, I see people where I work, you know, at the grocery store there. It's like, you know, they're just walking around, staring down around on the sidewalk, staring down.
You ever almost been run into by somebody who's walking?
Come on, man.
No, I was walking yesterday. I saw an Amazon driver, and what's he doing? Like after he's not looking to check it, he's looking at his phone.
Well, everything is going that way, and it's like they're indispensable, and you're lost without it, and your whole life is run by it, and it's kind of scary.
Actually, Kyle Vox said it to me. This was like a long time ago too. He said, because I'm finding I'm checking my phone every half hour.
Right.
You know, I got to check what's on YouTube or whatever. You know, and I guess Harlan Allison once said, why do you waste time with that crap?
Right.
But trying to focus, and I think it probably affects your head where you can't focus on. So, like, you know, even like watching movies and stuff, you want to sit and focus. But actually, for me, this is like a twist, as we do on this show, is I've actually gotten really into film. I found this film noir pack. Some of these are tense.
Oh, I have a bunch of those.
I just watched Scarlet Street.
Yep,
Wow.
That's a great.
Oh, my good grief.
I have a bunch of those film noir things. Scarlet Street. What's the other one?
This one called Quicksand with Mickey Rooney as an auto attendant.
Yeah. And then there's I can't remember the names of some of these, but there was one with DeForest Kelley from Star Trek, right? McCoy. And he plays this guy who keeps having this dream. And it turns out that it was in this house and really did see this guy laying there. And he had to go find the house, and he it gets kind of convoluted, but somebody drugged him or hypnotized him. That's what it was. It was a
You know what he was in too? He was one of the brothers in the gunfight at the OK Corral.
Wow.
Which he was in. He was in one of those.
I've seen him in a couple.
And then he's in the all-time best he ever did, Night of the Lepus, but the Killer Bunnies.
Oh yeah.
And him and Vivian Lee fighting killer bunnies.
Now there you go. There's another good example. So he's in all these B things. He's struggling along. He gets in Star Trek. The network wants to cancel the show, and he's probably going, "Man, I gotta get a better agent."
You know the one I gotta find, because I've seen pictures. Jimmy Doohan was in tons as a character actor. I don't think I've ever seen him except in he was in. I think he was in like one of the Airplane movies, a brief cameo.
Oh yeah.
I've never seen him in anything else. There's this one where he's got a beard. He's like a hunter in the Canadian wilderness.
Wow.
But I've never seen any of these movies.
Does he still do the brogue, or is he actually?
I guess he's
English?
done tons of all kinds of. You ever hear him really talk? He does. I think. Is he Canadian? I think he might be.
Oh, probably.
But he's just got a normal. It's weird hearing him.
Yeah.
Just talk normal. But I guess he could do like tons and tons of different accents.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's hard.
But I guess he could have been an opera singer.
Wow.
But he said he didn't have the training. But the other thing, like for Paul McCartney, I was thinking like today, I think it's unfortunately, I think for too many people, it's not cool for him to be your favorite because he would be like the popular kid in school,
right?
Where people don't realize like how brilliantly talented this guy is.
Yeah, his imagination is quite fertile. I mean, my only complaint with him is some of that is the some of the Wings stuff, which I liked a lot of it.
Barbecue spicy.
I just don't like the sing-songy children's book sort of
Mary
lyrics.
Had a Little Lamb, which he did that one.
I can't get into that.
I would call him McCheesy sometimes because he did have like that sort of like Tin Pan Alley.
And then you sort of see the secret strength of working with Lennon, because Lennon balanced that with more, acrid.
That's the key, I think, like Jagger and Richards, where Keith is all the blues and Mick is a little more showbiz.
Right.
And they balance each other off, because you get like their solo albums. Mick's are too commercial, and sometimes I like Keith's solo albums, but they're a little just too raw.
Yeah. Yeah, we used to do one of Mick's solo things there.
Some of his stuff's good. Not all of it. But I think that was the balance with him and McCartney, is that, but I guess like he could blow out songs so fast.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, he just gets all, well, you can watch that Let It Be and you can see how his mind works.
But then you get like some of his like later albums, like Run Devil Run. Some of these
I never saw that.
That's like more his 50s, some 50s songs.
Heard it.
But it's like some of those, he goes back like Flaming Pie, Driving Rain.
Oh, okay.
It's more rock and roll.
Yeah, I told you about that Cavern Club thing.
If you want to.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I have them too if you'd like to.
Oh, possibly, yes. Listen
I think
to them.
he has money. I think we'll get like a cease and desist. It's like, what, you only have $2 billion? You need like $10 more?
So,
did you see Metallica? True story. I guess like they showed some 10-year-old girl doing a Metallica song. Lars got her for copyright.
Oh my God.
And I've always heard, and I always don't like to criticize people unless I met them, but I heard stories like people who worked at Elektra about.
Yeah. I mean, well, they got the whole Napster thing too, and that blew up in their face, so they're probably pissed off.
And that's like your own view. I mean, some people, it's, music for the people. I mean, you should get paid, but I mean, come on.
Well, unfortunately, it's been out there for years from commercial radio. I mean, how many of us didn't record stuff off the radio or off FM? I used to do it. I got tons of cassettes from stuff on the radio.
The music show, put the cassette in, click and everything else. But I think Paul's got the bad thing because of that, because he was so creative, and it's just, he wasn't cool because of all that.
Right.
And it's always fun. It's always like, you don't want to be like it's like how Spock became most popular on Star Trek. Plus, because Spock was the most popular. Always it's like the second guy who's more popular. Not like the hot, the captain. Right. I think it's the same with the Beatles, where it's just not, he was like the sex symbol and all the, and everything else.
Hyper intelligent.
Yeah. But he's still playing these days. He's still going.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. If you can do it, more power to you.
I think he should, because he's probably saying, well, I'm going to do what we couldn't do back then. And so that's what he's been doing.
I think he'd be a guy, too, when he knows he can't.
Yeah.
That he would quit.
I mean, it's an amazing show. I mean, I have a couple of those early ones from the 2000s, the Russia one and the Back in the USA. And, freaking huge, 10 tractor trailers, if not more.
I saw him once in Giant Stadium, and he said, this is for a dear friend. He actually did a version of Strawberry Fields Forever.
Oh, wow.
Which is really awesome. But that's really cool. But I want to actually jump to a different topic entirely from comic book. It's music, of course. But our good friend the Baron just had a Southern rock show.
Okay.
And I was asking myself with the Baron, how would you really, and it doesn't mean anything, but how would you really define Southern rock? I mean, I know it when I see it.
I know.
And again, genres and everything, but because one of my views, I said, I was chatting with him, and I said, I don't consider ZZ Top Southern rock. I consider them Texas boogie.
I'll know it when it shoots me.
That's a good way for Southern rock. It might be the way to do it. But I think it's sort of it's like an attitude in a way too, the way they dress, the way some of the songs are about.
Well, there's a real fine line between country infused, Southern infused. I mean, you're always going to be a product of your surroundings and the element you grew up in. You grew up in Texas, in Louisiana, it's going to be different than if you grew up in Florida or,
and then you
Connecticut.
get generic artists who come from somewhere you wouldn't even know where they came from because the way they sound.
I mean, look at some of that hard rock that came out of Connecticut and stuff.
Yeah.
All those guys, Long Island, those guys had money. I mean, I remember Dee Snider was talking about it back when he first started. You could actually make your living just doing those clubs on Long Island.
What it turned out was you could think about the six figures in the 70s just playing on a circuit. You'd play every night of the week, but what would you rather do, that or go 9 to 5 instead of play? Yeah. But you could do that. But what happened, he said he did a comparison between him and the Good Rats. He said what happened was you could do this in the 70s, but then it started to dry up. We were starting to go national. They didn't.
Right.
But can you imagine that would be like a paradise now? All you have to do is play around here.
I'd do it.
I
mean, you can say you're a wannabe and all that, but, at least you're viable. You're out there doing it.
No, the important thing, you're making a good living, too.
But Southern rock is kind of defined, I guess, with the multiple guitars and the whole thing of the South being a grand nation, and to me, that's Southern rock. All that.
I just go, when you look at a band, you should be able to see it. There's this attitude. Yeah. A lot of songs are about the South, and a lot of songs.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the other thing with this whole cancel culture nonsense. But okay, the Confederate flag does represent some bad stuff. But if that's what you grew up with, I mean, that's like going someplace else, putting up a Rochester logo, and everybody throwing rocks at you.
No, another thing too is I just go, you don't want to step on history. That's too 1984. We have our good, we have our bad.
Right.
Let's have the bad so you can see it.
I mean, we've always been a history of conquering and war.
And I don't believe in censorship. I believe you should make up your own mind and it's everything else. And that's the thing. It's you need to be educated and just read about it. And yes, it could be very offensive and everything else and bad. But look, okay, what's the story behind this? Let's not let this happen again.
Right. Yeah, you should learn from. That's what they should be teaching to me. Not to go off on a thing here, but I'm gonna. What they should be teaching is why these things happen and how the history, not just obliterate it. Well, okay, these people treated these people wrong, and these people had enough, and this group retaliated, these people sided with them. I mean, explain what happened.
And realize history's not just drawn out good guys, bad guys. There's a lot of, if you read a lot of things, you find out how human nature is, and everybody...
I mean, we just happen to know about what happened in this country. I mean, you go back to other countries, you don't think there were subservient, slavish people under someone else? That's been going on forever.
Yeah, so now public service message over.
Yeah.
Another thing I was going to say.
Now that we've depressed you.
Another thought I've been going on about a little bit, and I've heard like mixed things, is about color albums, different colored albums. And the thing about it, now I used to hear the quality used to be worse, that black vinyl's still the best. Maybe it's improved now.
Oh, colored vinyl?
Yeah. And I always go like, what do you think? I think, the analogy I use for it is the comic book craze in the 90s, where you had all the weird variant covers, because you're trying to get attention for it, because you have to try to sell it.
Well, some of the paper they use now in the comics is that shiny, almost magazine type.
I'm more of I just get the trades now.
Yeah.
But if I pre-order an album, if it's going to be like Michaela's new one, it's going to be like sort of a white vinyl.
Yeah.
I'm not looking for it, but if that's the way it comes, I'm fine.
I can only imagine that process has to do something to the conductivity of the way
that's what I've heard,
needle
actually,
hits the
That's
bruise.
what I've heard, that still black vinyl's still the best.
Yeah. I mean, it's raw. It's the only surface. You start lacquering and putting all these different... It's like a floor.
But, what was one of my first albums ever? I went down to, it was at Gold Circle. I got the Beatles 1967 to 70, the blue.
Yeah.
And then I didn't realize, after Prince, it was just normal black.
Wow.
Because there was the blue and the red.
Yeah, my girlfriend has a Heart record. It's a colored red, I think. And I have a couple. I have, this Grand Funk live thing I just got. It's a bunch of live performances from ABC in concert and different things that they've done. It's on some private label or something.
And now going...
But it's like a marble...
Some
thing.
Sean
It's cool
McVay,
looking.
King Buffalo, they had some spacey designs on theirs.
The vinyl is like a marble thing. It's pretty cool.
And they have a lot of splatter ones, and everything else. But it is what it is. I don't consider it good or bad or anything. I just wonder, how the sound quality is.
Well, it's kind of a gimmick, and, I've got that Raising Sand disc, and I bought it at the Cracker Barrel, of all places. It was like $25.
Robert Plant and Nelson Krauss, that one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was on some colored vinyl, and that's a cool album, man. There's a lot of different...
That's an awesome album.
You're getting some great sounds, and there's all these odd percussion sounds.
I actually think their second album's even better.
Yeah, I didn't hear that.
This isn't to say that one's bad. I was amazed. The second one's even better, which is really good. Actually, going back to Marvel a little bit for a while in DC, do you have a favorite era, like a decade? You can like every decade of like one that stands out.
Probably late 60s, early 70s. When they started to change, I really liked that Superman storyline with the sand being and that whole thing. I mean, once I kind of...
Was it Raising Sand?
Yeah. Oh, it was Kicking Sand. But, when they weakened him a little bit, I mean, I kind of thought that was kind of cool. Then they got rid of Kryptonite. Then they brought Kryptonite back.
Then there were 15 versions or whatever.
So.
One of the ones, we were talking about that stupid comic book code. What did Marvel do, though, to get around it? What it did was, it took all these monsters and made them scientific. Like Morbius, the living vampire. He wasn't a vampire. He was a guy, Michael Morbius, trying to cure himself of a blood disease. He became a bloodsucker.
That's a good way to do it.
A Man-Thing. He was like your typical heap. But he was a swamp, it was from a super soldier serum.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way to get around it.
So they snuck around it like that.
Well, now you look at that whole comic book, that's all squashed now. Because look at the storylines now. Kids can't get enough of, Spawn and stuff like that. Are you kidding me? Those HBO Spawn animated things still are the freaking best.
Oh, they're really good, yeah. But the other thing, too, is, for those type of things. But I think, I love, the early, the 70s comics. And what they said about the 70s comics is you had here and here. This is when the graphic novels started from, but they would give you such freedom.
Right.
That's why some of this awesome stuff came out.
Yeah, and I like one-off stories. I mean, I don't mind stories that don't connect. I mean, because of the Marvel thing, everybody wants things to connect. And the movies, and it's like something like Joker and the Logan movie and things like that. I think those are cool. They're just you take a character, you make up a story about him. I mean, it doesn't have to follow.
No, and I think it goes, like, if I was going to write a story, it goes as long as it goes. I think the big epic for them in the 70s was the Kree-Skrull War. That was, like, the big one. The Galactus saga, one of the best stories ever. I think it was, 3 issues, maybe, and everything else. So,
Galactus was cool.
It's weird, like, the omnipotent being goes around in these shorts. Looks like one of the knights who say knee.
Yeah. Yeah, some of those character designs were crazy. Well, what about the New Gods in DC that Kirby did?
Oh,
like all that, the guy, Mr. Machine,
Mr. Miracle,
Mr. Miracle with his chair and all this crazy stuff.
Oh, that stuff is like freaky as art, like especially for the New Gods or everything else. So that's what the thing with him was. He liked to do this, but I don't think he was a great writer. He was a great idea man, great artist, but his writing is something sort of lacking.
Well, Darkseid took hold.
They're also, but Commandy. I loved Commandy, the last boy on Earth.
Oh, I don't know that one.
That was like the creatures he had in that were like hilarious. They were awesome. And then you go back to the pulps. Though, think about the Code. Some of those pulps, like the Spider and all them, they were brutal. I mean, they were hardcore.
I bought a couple Shadow magazines of the original stories. They're pretty cool.
And how are the adventures on radio?
They're great. I'll have to show you some.
I think they're all dead by now. They don't worry about it, so I don't know.
Blue coal. No, but it's funny. They even mention Buffalo and stuff in the ads. They mention like the snowy, cold towns.
I love though. That's the thing. Now it's like I don't want to see ads, but back then I loved to see the old ads.
Well, you know what I love about old ads is they tell you nothing because it's like. More food, goodness, in every bite. And what the hell is that?
I saw the one that was hysterical, where it's the Jack Benny show with Humphrey Bogart, and they put an ad in the skit for cigarettes. Yeah. They just put an ad, it's like commercial lights, and all of a sudden they just talk about, it's good for you and they taste great.
Well, you know what? That reminds me. I just heard something the other night. I was listening to something, and it was the Falcon, or one of these detective ones, and they're in a diner. And the waiter comes over, and all of a sudden he starts spieling about the Miracle Whip or something. And, really? Yeah, this is good. Yeah, it's because Miracle Whip is one of the best. Then they go right back to the story. They threw the commercial in a conversational way, which I thought was very clever. So it didn't sound like a pitch. It sounded like just putting the idea of the product in your head.
Oh, my goodness.
Which is what you want.
Yeah. But then, I think now the thing with Stan Lee, just going back to the whole original bullpen, I mean, John Romita, he came on, he drew Mary Jane, he came on after Ditko.
Yep.
And Ditko will never know. Ditko said that he wrote a lot of those Spider-Mans. It's like he quit after, issue 32, 33, but that he actually was the one who plotted a lot of these things. And there was a big fall, but he was such a weird, sort of a recluse, you'll never know.
Right.
But he came to set the record straight.
Yeah, well, there were a lot of those things, where the series was on its last legs, and there's even a special I watched about Chris Claremont and how he revived the X-Men,
Oh yeah, they were dead. They were gone. I remember that issue where they were doing reruns of just reprints, and then they just did the new X-Men because what do they have to lose?
Right.
Then it got huge and enormous.
I think when you start dealing with what's the word? Disaffectation or disassociation or people that feel left out, marginalized, you start to feel sorry for them and you can relate more like Peter Parker and the mutants and, they turned them from just freaks into sympathetic characters that other people don't understand.
And the storyline they go to, too, also is for Spider-Man, the creators were getting older as they were doing it, so they had him get out of high school and everything else. But I was always a Gwen Stacy person more than Mary Jane. So
right, yeah, me too.
Always Gwen was cool, but that was Romita was he had such a big impact on the field. Then his kid too. But that was really good stuff. But we'll never know the whole secret about who did what or who did this or that in a lot of ways.
Will we ever see a Green Goblin that actually has his mouth moved?
Did you ever see the original thing when Nicolas Cage was going to be him?
No.
It looked more. I've seen it. It looked more like a patchwork type thing.
Wow. I mean, he looked great, but it was just weird. Not just that he was having a mask on instead of being a weird character.
I was going to say Stan said that about characters sometimes, where he said, look at like how they look in the comic.
Yeah,
it wouldn't look good.
Right.
Like, and he pointed to Captain America about how he had to change the uniform a little bit.
Sure.
And everything else.
And they were good. That was smart to do that. Same thing with Thor. They kind of jettisoned the helmet.
So, like Black Panther, his uniform's cool. His thing's cool. So there's no problem there. But like some of the other ones, they just don't look really good. You'd be laughing at them.
Well, they keep the essence of the character, and they put it so that you can buy it, I mean, like the Christopher Reeve Superman was the suit the way it was. I mean, he rocked it, but like, then they had to come up with this. Now it's more of a body armor, and I don't know.
Here, what does he need body armor for? He's Superman.
Yeah, I don't know.
But now I guess they're going to do a younger Superman. That's why they got rid of Henry Cavill. The new one, I guess, is coming out in 2025. It's going to be like a younger version. But one of the guys they said is like Nicholas Hoult, who played Beast in the X-Men.
Okay.
But until you see it, you don't know what the heck.
Yeah.
But who knows? But I think we've covered all our... Anything else to add today?
I did 3 gigs and 3 weekends with 3 bands last week.
Well, what do you have coming up?
I have the B-side coming up next week with Brian Lindsay Band on the 30th of June. And we're doing the Steel Rail Revival thing in July on the 15th, I believe. And Jerry Falzone called me to play with Liar's Moon for some show in Canada.
You ever want to book Greg? He's always busy. Already book him for next year.
I answer the phone and say yes. That is my secret.
We have some stuff coming out. Hopefully we'll have the people on the show who are releasing it. Michaela has a rare show at the Bug Jar these days, and I remember the old days of the good old golden ticket and everything else in New Year's, and it's coming up on Friday. There's a low ticket warning, so get yours now. Pre-order their album. It's really good.
Her last one was great.
Oh, there's new ones, and a lot of these songs have been around a long time, but they're finally getting on an album.
She's still in Nashville, right?
Well, she's based out of Hudson. But Alyssa's putting a new album out this year, too.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I got them mixed up.
You get them all mixed up.
I do. All your girly friends.
Yeah. She's the harpist is the one, and then the other one. But cool. So we're going to actually, my good friend, the man himself, Kevin Wilcox, was in town last night watching his brother play with the living room. And it wasn't in a living room. It was a bar. And my ears are actually, I didn't realize my ears are sort of gone today. But Kev is, as anybody would know around here, great guy, UV rays, fame.
Right, I remember them, yeah.
I told him the best intro to a song at the Bug Jar ever.
Where's the living room?
That's a band name. You've been Neon. She's in it. And Frankie.
My God, I'm not with it today, everybody.
As usual for both of us.
I thought you said he was playing at the living room.
If I have a house show,
okay.
But
I'm gonna go to bed.
Kevin, the best intro at the Bug Jar ever, where he goes very solemnly, "This is a song about when I peed my pants." See, no, but seriously, you have to get inspiration from everything.
But seriously,
maybe not talk about actually where
right.
it comes from. But I just remember, it's like the case of like when I went to the doctor and I had to tell my doctor I broke my leg in 2 places, and she cured me. She said, just don't go to those places anymore.
Oh, there you go. It hurts when I go there.
Yeah.
Well, then don't go there.
That's like people, I guess, but, I suppose who would like write a song about that? That's pure genius. But maybe not, but it's funny.
Is it time for me to pick the song of the week?
We have this new band, Suburban Resistance. You can go get these. It's Vegas-based. And you'll hear this sort of punk beats power pop. Cool stuff. But the new album just came out. It's called Songs of the Dead. This is not a cover album with Jerry Garcia. Okay, this is not a cover album. This is this is not. You will not get you will not hear him screaming any Casey Jones.
Don't let that deal
But
go
we will
down.
I asked him last night, what does he want me to play? He's like, I don't care. So I said, I'll have my drummer pick it out.
Oh, okay.
So what sounds good out here?
Drum roll, please. Okay.
I can't even read them. They're so...
Number 15 is our winner.
Okay.
Blackness.
Fitting, we're both wearing sunglasses and it's dark. So thanks for tuning in.
Because you can never have enough of that.
If you wonder about our mental health, we're okay. And we have some fun guests next week.
Yes.
Returning guests. It's a little secret, but should be theatrical.
You won't have to rely on me trying to fill up space.
Yes. But that's how it goes. We like to do the solo shows. We like to have guests. We like to have balance. But we can always go back in time, look at SpaghettiOs, and change it anyway. So,
Ouch.
I'm the Alf Wiedersehen, Gesundheit, goodbye.
Later.